on May 21st, I was driving. I started like second or fourth.
Yeah.
And I was just going into turn one. I got pushed wide, and I came back, got spun, and then I got hit like the barrier, got flown out of my go-kart, and then got ran over in the head.
Today was my first time where I was looking outside of the recording studio wondering if my guest was going to be arriving in a professional go-kart or just a regular car.
No, it wouldn't be street legal. I'd get probably arrested coming.
There you go.
Or run over from like a truck not paying attention.
It is such a privilege to have on our very special guest today. I will have him introduce himself. Who is Max Weiland?
Hello.
A fellow professional go-kart racer.
Yep.
How is that? How does one even start amongst doing something like that?
So basically, my dad's a race car driver, and my dad's friend got me like a kid kart a while ago when I was 4. And then when I was about 7, 8, I was like, "What are we gonna do with that?" And my dad's like, "Well, we could go to a go-kart track an hour away." And then we went there, and then we started driving, and boom.
So how long ago was that? When did you start?
2019, but I always thought about it like 2018, and I did rental carts before then.
Yeah, and this is not a simple go to fun and stuff and hop on.
No, everybody's tooth and nail. Everybody's gonna send it up from far, and they're gonna push you off to win.
Yeah.
They'll do anything. Trust me.
'Cause how fast do those things go?
Over 70 miles per hour.
That's wild. And I'd imagine on a straightaway, it's going every bit of close to that 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, usually it gets like 70, and then sometimes on like really big straights, it goes like 72, 74.
That's wild. So would you say that your dad is a huge inspiration for you having this passion?
Yeah. Without him, I would never have gotten in a go-kart, and I wouldn't be here today.
Now, is this something that is been in your family for a while?
No, my dad started just having some fun, and then he actually became pretty good. And then he helped me, but he doesn't know anything. At first, he didn't know much about go-karts, so he had his coach help me, and that's how I first got good.
It's amazing to me everything that goes into your profession that I don't even think a majority of people would even begin to think that there's as much as there is to it.
Yeah. When I first got into karting, I saw there was a show called like Kart Life, and it was dramified, I'll give you that, but it did show a lot like the tense moments, and I feel like that's a good starter to know what like a go-kart like weekend is.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
How often are the races? Is there a season? How does that work?
Kind of. There's multiple series, and usually each have about 3-4 races, and there's about 4 areas, so I'd say 15 races a year, and it depends because some of them are in like January, then there's like a break, and then there's like 3 back to back to back. It all depends, but my next weekend, currently when we're recording this, is in a few days.
Yeah, Indianapolis, right?
Yep.
Have you been to that course or track before?
Yes, it's a very fun track, like really fun. It has a lot of big straightaways, so you get high miles per hour, so it's really fun. So that and due to this, there's a lot of bump drafting like in NASCAR, you'd think. So then it's really fun. Like now you're ahead of this person, but they over under you.
So talk more about bump drafting.
So in any car, there is the wind's pushing on you because you're going X amount miles per hour, and due to this, if the person behind you, it has not as much air because the first one's blocking it. But if it's getting a push to the first one, then now it's going as fast, basically without the wind, and that could be an extra mile per hour or two. Like half a second, and it's crazy. Like, I'm the fastest one in the last practice. Now qualifying, I'm 5th. What happened?
And I'd imagine those single-digit mile per hours make a difference.
Yes. Even then, a better driver could still be 20th from how close the field is. Like, usually it's only a few thousandths, hundredths of a second between a driver. Like, I remember once I was 10th, and I was like a few hundredths off pole.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, and we're talking, like, in some cases, photo finish. Is that right?
Yes. I've been like 3 wide onto a finish. It was pretty interesting, but most of the time I'm the one to first.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Oh, that is amazing. Now, with what it is that you're doing at the age that you're doing it, have you been able to, like, meet friends and see some bit of the same people go to each of these different meetups and whatnot?
Yes, all the best drivers go to the biggest events. One's called SCUSA, Superkarts USA. Others called the United States Pro-Kart Series. And then they all come to these, and they're always together, always bump drafting. So then in the race, they always get an advantage.
Yeah.
But sometimes bump drafting, it can disadvantage them because then they're trying to get, like, which one is going to bump draft. And they want to be the one behind because then they can close up and then bump. And then they end up being 20th because they don't get a lap in. Because it's only 3-lap qualifying usually. But sometimes they're like 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
A lap time?
Usually, it depends from track to track, but I say about a minute.
Okay. So, yeah, realistically, you don't have too much time to do too much bump drafting before the race is over. Or at least to qualify, like you were saying,
Yeah,
right?
qualifying. You have to get 1 lap on new tires, stickers, and you just got to get it going. You got to get a good lap going, and you got to make sure that you close up to the driver in front of you and don't lose it.
Would you be able to explain to us some of the features and characteristics and things that make your go-kart unique and what makes it more than something that you'd see at, like, Fun and Stuff?
We have engines, we have pipes, and we have tire rods and all of that. We have seats. And all of this helps make it light as possible, so then it can go faster and faster. But they don't want to go too fast because the younger the age, they have like a restrictor and blah, blah, blah.
Don't blah, blah, blah me. I want to hear about it. Get into it. Like, you're telling me that there's, like, actually tire rotation, or sorry, there's a tire replacement. Like, they are taking off your tires.
No.
No.
No, it's more of like going into qualifying. They give you get a new set of tires. You put them on because new sets are always better.
Okay.
And due to this, everybody's trying to save up their tires. Like, and like, no, if you have a lead or like a gap to behind, like you're in no man's land, you want to just save your tires. So in the final, you can have better tires and have an advantage over the competitors. I know, it's so complicated.
It's complicated and it's wild. So, I mean, you had mentioned that your dad was a huge inspiration for your initial interest and you staying interested. But, like, what else keeps you driven to continue this passion of yours?
Since I was little, I watched F1, IndyCar, NASCAR, and I always thought it was super cool. And I always wanted to be like one of them one day. Hopefully I could become a full-time IndyCar driver one day. That's my goal. My dad says he hopes I'm in Formula 1, and I'm like, nah, I'm going to go for IndyCar.
Wait, so why do you like the IndyCar over...
F1 is very expensive to get into, and due to this IndyCar, all you have to do is get an Indy Lights, the series before, and then all you have to do is a few years, and you could be in IndyCar part-time, and if you do good, you could be full-time.
Wow.
And plus, in F1, the difference in the cars can be like 2 minutes, but in IndyCar, it's usually 0.4 of a second to the fastest to the slowest car, like how good of the car it is. So if a good driver can make like a bad car like P5, P6.
I don't know, man. I think if I were to choose one for you, I'd want you to go F1.
Yeah, but it's just really expensive.
Quite frankly, it'd be so that I can come see you down at Monte Carlo on a yacht and just see Max Weiland go.
You have to get there weeks before to get like a yacht.
Oh goodness!
Like, I've never been on one, but that's what I'm guessing.
I'm sure.
Like, it's crazy how many people, like, how big a yacht. Because I saw a picture of someone having an F40 drop lifted from their like a crane into their apartment or something, and I'm just like, I think that shows you're rich. That isn't us. I just saw like a picture and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, do you have any other passions that mirror the passion that you have of driving?
I like playing football and stuff, but
yeah,
it's 100% racing.
Yeah.
I spend all my time. I mean, at recess and blah 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 at school, I'm always playing football, but because there's no go-kart track.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm always trying to get better in racing, like do iRacing, doing kart racing pro, trying to just get better and better, trying to get like ranked better, so then I can have better competition, better cars. And my dad's always like, why aren't you on iRacing, blah, 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 more? I was like, I'm on 2 hours. No, more.
Now, is iRacing a simulation?
Yeah.
Like simulated racing?
No, you're racing against, like, other real people.
Oh, wow. And is this with, like, the steering wheel in front of you, the gas pedal, the
gearbox
and all that?
I have a simulator downstairs.
Yeah.
And it's super nice, and I always drive it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And is that something that I'd imagine there's like software updates and things that need to be kept up because
like usually like every I say month or so, I have to just wait in 20 minutes and wait for everything to download.
Yeah.
Because like new seasons and all that.
Oh, okay. Nice. Now, what's nice about that is you're safe and you're at home and there's no chance of like you getting thrown out of your chair, but I understand that you were involved in a pretty serious accident on the track not too long ago.
Yeah, on May 21st, I was driving. I started like second or fourth.
Yeah.
And I was just going into turn one. I got pushed wide and I came back, got spun, and then I got hit like the barrier, got flown out of my go-kart, and then got ran over in the head.
No.
I know, I had a moderate concussion, they said.
Yeah.
And that cut me out of racing for a month.
Yeah. I saw the picture that you posted on Instagram. Was that the like tire skid mark that was on your helmet?
Yeah, it got ran over me. And then I got flung like 30 feet into the grass.
Do you remember any of it?
No. I remember a little. I just remember I got run over. That's it. And I remember I was in a lot of pain. But that's about it. I really don't remember much else.
Doing well now, though?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I got cleared a few days ago, and I was really happy.
Yeah.
Because now I can get back in a go-kart.
Yeah. Right back in the saddle.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So do you have a bunch of people at school who are just like, who is this kid? What is he doing? Who is this wild man going around on a go-kart?
At first they thought it was weird, but then they realized like how cool it is, and they're like, oh, geez, that's cool.
Yes. That's so fun. Now, do you have people at your school who do this with you?
No.
No.
The closest driver I'd say is about a 30-minute drive from where I live.
Yeah.
The closest like fast race car driver. And then the next is way far. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
How far are you usually going to get to these meets?
Usually I fly on like United going to like Indiana. Sometimes like drive to Indiana or Pittsburgh, but in other places like North Carolina or even as far as Florida, I have to fly like United. I'm not driving that far.
Right. Now, how do you get your kart there?
My team has it all. And they keep it, and they have to drive from Ohio too. I think the farthest they have gone is like California or Utah. And I don't even know how to do it. They basically get no sleep.
Yeah.
And understandably, they're always tired going into the race weekend, needing 20 cups of coffee. Because they always do it at the last minute.
Yeah. Now, and you don't need the coffee because you're flying.
Yeah.
And you're getting there.
I still they're trying to get me to have it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, because they're like in Italy, they're all having coffee, and I'm like, okay, sure.
Yes. Have you had the opportunity to go over to Europe?
Once. But
okay, for vacation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was able to test right at the start of my career, but a lot of my fellow drivers have gone to Europe, and I'm like, I want to go. And my dad's like, first, win everything in the United States by a mile. Then we talk about Europe.
You're like, Dad, I'm splitting hairs here for a finish. Winning by a mile? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. Like I said, it's an opportunity that a bunch of people your age don't get to have. And the fact that you are starting now is going to allow you the opportunity to have a skill gap between someone that starts years after you did, and they're never going to be able to catch up to you, figuratively and literally.
Yeah. I mean, some of these drivers started when they're 4 or 3.
Is that right?
Seriously. I started when I was 8 and full-time 10. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm currently 12 now.
Okay, there we go. So what does it look like for you moving forward?
I'm just hoping I got accepted to Skip Barber Racing School, so hopefully probably within this year, I could hopefully test an F4 car. But before then, I just got to get winning some more races, gain more trophies, and gain more sponsors.
I think what's so crazy to me is that you have so much support behind you. I mean, do you feel that? Do you feel everyone lifting you up, keeping you going, and cheering you on?
Yeah, racing's an expensive sport.
Yeah.
And without my dad, I would never have even gotten the chance to get in a go-kart, and I would never be able to show my true, passion.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful that you have the opportunity to have a passion, have a hobby, because more times than not, there are people, far older than us that get to a point where they say, I don't know what to do for fun. I don't have anything that I enjoy. And then you get to a point where it's just like, well, that's sad, and I don't want to do that.
If you're 40 years old, it's a little late to get an F1 because most people are retiring then.
Yes.
In F1.
The only F1 racer that I know is, what's his name, Lewis Hamilton?
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton. There we go. What do you think about Lewis?
He's the most classy driver out there.
Yeah.
He's like the person that'll nail every interview 100 times out of 100. While some other drivers will have a mental breakdown halfway through one.
Yeah. And it's crazy that because everything is down to the split second, there's not enough.
You have to be perfect.
There's no room for error.
No. Every race you have probably a mistake or two.
Yeah.
As much room for error. Other than that, you're just going to lose positions and more. Because once I started third, I made a few mistakes. Oh no, I'm in 20th. Because if you make one mistake, someone can pass you, then the next person can follow you. And due to this, now 5 people are past you. And you're like, Yeah. And then you have to pass each one by one. And then now the race is over. You lost a pack in front of you. It's happened to me a few times, and it's just so annoying.
That's got to be tough. It's got to be tough because you get to the point where you're just finding yourself back further than you ever really realized that you were, and then there are people in front of you that are slowing you down. So then is that the splitting of the pack and not being able to get back up to the front? That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, there's some people that'll send it, and now they're in the front of the train, but they aren't as fast as the people, and now they're going to defend and hold up everybody, and the next pack is bump drafting, and they're gone.
Yes.
It's very hard to catch back up to them, but if you're starting from the back, for example, and you're fast, you could probably get up 20, 30 positions in a 40-car field.
Wow.
If you have to be perfect, no mistakes. because it's very hard to go from last to first because you have a 12-second gap. So you have to catch up, plus passing to 39 other cars.
Right. I couldn't imagine, because it's just so unique and so different from just a regular traditional sport. So, and I think what's great is you are sharing some of your experiences with others through the form of social media.
Yeah, like every weekend, my dad would make a post like Max qualified P3 for this big national in one of his first races in KA Junior. Oh my gosh, I gotta thank the team. He's ecstatic and happy.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It is. And I think that you should feel very proud for having the ability to also make your parents proud.
Yeah, I always just want them to make them proud.
Yeah.
That's my whole goal. Yeah.
Well, I think that you're doing an absolutely wonderful job of that.
Thanks.
You just got to go ahead and keep it going. But keeping it going is, I think, something also that we are not used to understanding for your profession. Like, what does training look like for you?
Oh, for us, you have to work out. You have to be very strong, like in the neck and the core. Like, I mean, very strong, because these go-karts are super physical. An average person couldn't do a lap. And for me, I have to work out 4 times a week for an hour. So big workouts.
Yeah.
Like big weights to be able to drive a go-kart. Like a shifter, for example. Oh my gosh. Even me working out, I couldn't do a lap. The older you get, though, it's easier. But when you get past the age of 17, it starts to be the same.
Okay.
Like, you get stronger, but then basically when you stop growing, that's when you'll stop being easier to get into the next cart. But usually by then you should be in cars.
Mm-hmm.
Like Max Verstappen was in an F1 car at 17. They changed the rules to stop that.
Oh,
but,
wow.
Yeah. And he's a one-time world champion. I know. I'm not in 2021. I'm not giving an F1 anyone a world championship. That was a bad call.
Yeah.
So I would just say Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, Max Verstappen, 1-time world champion. Just take away that world championship from everyone, because the race director messed up. And so what happened was it was like 3 laps to go and someone crashed. And then they didn't do anything and let Verstappen let him pit for new soft tires, while Lewis Hamilton was on 20 lap old hards, and it was with 1 lap and then it was supposed to end on their safety car, but they're like, the people in the distance between Hamilton and Verstappen, the lapped cars were allowed to pass, but the people behind the lap cars weren't, and it was very weird. And a bad call, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, are these things happening year-round, or is there a season for all of it?
In F1, they have 23 races a season. And those things are way more physical than ours. You should see, they all have 8-packs. They're all, if you look at their workouts, it's unbelievable. Like, they can, have 50 pounds, of weight on their, neck. And they can, it's super strong. It's unbelievable. I'm a third of that.
Yes.
And going more and more, 50%, 75% of that strength, it gets harder and harder. But for my age, it's basically impossible to drive a F1 car, for example. But Verstappen was in a shifter at my age, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think what's crazy is I'll see some of those videos of, the side angle out of the helmet looking forward on these F1 cars, and the amount of rattling that's happening because they're trying to keep it straight.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you have to be very straight. You want to be as straight as possible, because then you have the fastest acceleration. You want to just fast. They say slow in, fast out, but you want to be fast in, fast out.
And I think another thing that amazes me is how close those tires will get to guardrails on turns.
I know.
As such.
Or people next to each other. There isn't a paper couldn't fit in it. It's unbelievable. Like in iRacing, if you do like an oval, you have unbelievable racing because you guys are neck and neck for 20 laps straight. Like side by side, it's unbelievable.
Have you ever heard of the term gentleman's agreement?
Yeah, they always say that like, don't do any bad passes if you don't run anyone over. Like don't push someone off. Really, just don't be dumb.
Yeah. Do you? So there's like one example, but do you have other examples of like gentleman agreements?
Yeah, they're like, everybody have a clean race, and the start, don't jump start. When we wave the green flag, then you go. In this box, you can go. But if you go before it, then we might penalize you. Or if you go after, then second can go. Like blocking could be a penalty if you screw the person behind you. I've gotten some wins that way.
Yeah.
Like they just block me, and then due to that they get a penalty, and I'm like, yay, I'm second, but now I win.
Very true.
Yeah.
What does that, like, what happens, like, was blocking what you just explained, or like, is there a penalty associated with just like looking in your rearview mirror and not letting someone like get past you?
You're allowed to move one way, like you're allowed to move like here, but
Yeah.
you can't move back. That's blocking.
Oh.
This is just defending. If you're just like moving, you can move as far as you want on a straightaway, but you can only come a kart length back.
Really?
Or, well, that's what they say. They kind of make the rules as they go. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those go-karts, are they fragile?
Yeah. But you can get in like a big incident. You'll have like a bent tire rod or something. But you could usually continue. But if you lose like a chain, that's what keeps the motor going, and then you're done. You have to stop the car. You're out of the race. But if you have anything bent from a crash, you're probably way behind first because you're in the incident. But I've been like in that, gotten a bent tire rod and then passed a ton of cars. But it's hard to get all the way back from first because now you're 15 seconds, 30 seconds behind them. In 20 lap race, you have to be second faster than them. And that's, for how perfect they are, it's impossible basically. But it is possible, but so hard. You have to be absolutely perfect every turn, make the perfect sense, make sure you have no damage, you have to pull it off, no over-unders. It's crazy.
Exactly, because what you were saying before, it's one thing to be behind just based off of time, but then you're dealing with all of these other people who are just getting in your way.
Yeah, but usually I can pass them.
Yeah. Now, is there a right way, quick way, strategic way to go about passing someone? Or is it literally as simple as just go faster than them and turn maybe a corner quicker or something like that?
No, it's more of it's kind of simple. You just gotta send it, and then there's stuff like dive bombs. They're like your 3 cars behind, and then you side pod them. You're allowed to do that. I don't understand. You can bump someone off, and that's a penalty, but you can side put someone way off, and that's okay. I don't understand.
Really?
That's their rules.
Yeah.
The rules as they go.
Oh my goodness.
There's no side pod penalty but if you bump and run, that's a penalty. If they're looking, but most of the time they're just on their phone okay, oh, the race ended.
Now, I know you had mentioned it before, but in a main event, how many laps are those usually, and how long does the race usually last?
Depends, but usually could be 20, 30 minutes. And on iRacing, that's how long each race is. But it's not go-karts, it's more like Formula cars, NASCARs.
Oh, okay.
On Car Racing Pro that I talked about earlier, that's just straight up go-karts.
Yeah.
Like mini, in Shifter, X30, KA, all those.
I think it's wild to me that it's like you're doing this. You're doing every bit of it. And you work so hard to continue it. I asked you already what's next for you, But I wanted to dive a little bit further into like you, Max. Like what personally, outside of your race car or your go-kart riding, what keeps you going? What motivates you? Why are you doing this?
It's really fun. I have always a great time. Even a bad day on a go-kart day is better than working.
Do you have some summer jobs that you pick up?
No.
No?
I'm just saying. That's a saying, but
There you go.
because there's someone on my team, and I won't. He was named AJ Myers. He's like 20, but he's very good. He's the top-rated driver in all of America. He's really good,
What?
and he's on the same team because the people that own the team, his name's Andrew. He was friends with AJ for years, and then he's like, "Want to join our team?" He's like, "Sure." And he's made Magic Kart so much bigger, both of them. Like AJ wins the biggest race of the year by a mile, and everybody just sees Magic Kart, and then everybody knows who they are.
I'd imagine you've had the opportunity to meet some pretty cool people.
I've seen Juan Pablo Montoya at a race. Other than racing, once out, my parents saved up a little bit and got me to Monte Carlo. Used all their miles, used everything. And I got to meet Charles Leclerc when I was eating dinner. His girlfriend was the table next to us.
What?
Or something, or like their friend, and he just stops by, and I have my Charles Leclerc hat right then.
No way.
What are the chances? That's what and I'm like, oh my gosh, and he's like, this, and I'm like, and he's like, okay.
Yes.
I know. That's the most awkward part when they're like, fist bump, shake hand. But I got a picture.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It's so fun to be able to speak in this way with someone like yourself who's so mature for how young you are, and I think that is going to only further excel the wonderful person that you not only are now but will be into the future. And it's so fun because, it's like I've titled this podcast SmileTalk, and you encompass every bit of what we strive to do, and that is to bring on masters of their crafts to speak to how they help people develop and enhance others' self-esteem and confidence. And there are going to be so many people that see this video, that see what it is that you're doing, and they say, damn,
I want to be like that one day.
That's right. So
and hopefully at least one person can learn a little bit, go to their local rental karts, and have a good time.
And they absolutely will, based on being inspired by your interview here today. Oh yeah, your parents too. But with that being said,
I got inspired.
100%. With that being said, I wanted to ask one of my absolute favorite questions is what makes Max Weiland smile?
Going to the race car track. I said this before, it's so fun, and you meet so many fun and nice people. You make friends, and even a bad day, like you crash, is still better than not going. It's so fun, and even a bad day, I still enjoy way more than not going racing. That's why it's so much torture when I couldn't go racing for a month. And I missed so many races, and I'm like, ugh.
Now, do you have somewhere that you would point people to who are interested in getting started or seeing what the experience is all about?
I would recommend for rental karts, there's a Boss near the Cleveland airport, or you could go your local rental car place. And for me, my closest track is Pittsburgh International, about an hour away, but they are making a go-kart track about a little under 10 minutes away from our house.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, in Lorraine.
Really?
I know. It's gonna be crazy, and I'm gonna be testing there every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you gone to that Urban Air in Crocker?
They don't even go 1 mile per hour. I think a snail goes faster. They don't even wear helmets.
I can see you being like, I'm pressing the gas pedal now, but it's going nowhere.
I basically walking would be faster.
Yes. Max, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for letting me be on this podcast. I gotta thank you.
It is my pleasure. Now, if people want to follow you and continue to see all of the cool and amazing things that either you've done or that you will continue to do, where do you want to point them to?
I would point them to my Facebook, Max Weiland Racing. All of them are Max Weiland Racing on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, no Twitter.
Awesome. Well, hey, you did a phenomenal job up here today. I want to congratulate you for that.
Thank you.